This presentation is brought to you by the Colorado Division of Aeronautics, in association with the National Association of State Aviation Officials, and in partnership with the State Aviation Journal, bringing you positive stories about aviation from around the nation. Welcome to the State Aviation Journal Video Focus, featuring Director of the Arkansas Division of Aeronautics, Jerry Chism.
Hi, I'm Sean Sederberg, and I'm with the State of Colorado Division of Aeronautics, and I'm here at the greatest aviation celebration in the world at Oshkosh, Wisconsin, at EAA AirVenture. And I'm here capturing all these wonderful stories about people flying into this aviation mecca, and I figured what a great place to do this, right in front of an aircraft that was flown in here. And I am here with the Director of the Division of Aeronautics, Jerry Chism. And he flew his 170 in here for the very first time to Oshkosh, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But this is about a three-part series, so we have two other interviews I think that'll be very interesting for everyone to listen to. We're starting off with this one, Jerry. Jerry, let's just kick this off and introduce yourself. Who are you? Who are you with, and why the heck are you here?
Well, I'm Jerry Chism. As you said, I'm the director for the Arkansas Department of Commerce Division of Aeronautics, and I'm here because I'm a pilot, and every pilot wants to go to Oshkosh. I've been here numerous times, but I've never flown in. So I heard that this year is the 75th anniversary of the Cessna 170, which I own, and that EAA was going to honor that aircraft, and so I put it on my calendar last year that we'd be flying the 170 up this year, and fortunately we were able to do that.
That is awesome. So tell me a little bit about how that went. What was that experience like? I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of intensity leading up to it, but was it everything you thought it was going to be?
It was, and I got to admit, Sean, I cheated a little bit. Okay, I came in early before the NOTAM was in effect, and so weather obviously always plays a part when you're flying as far as we flew in. So when we left Arkansas, there was weather in the St. Louis area. We had to go west farther than we planned, which is always a little bit challenging, but I find that exciting too. It's kind of like an adventure that instead of following necessarily what we planned, we do what we have to do to get here. So we went west of St. Louis, and after we got north of St. Louis, the weather became just absolutely perfect. We came in here Wednesday afternoon. It was a little breezy, direct crosswind at 12 gusting to 24. So it was a little challenging, but fortunately none of those YouTube video cameras were on the side of the runway. So I don't think I'm going to show up on YouTube, but we got it on the ground and got parked over here, and we've been here, and Kelly and I have been volunteering for the past 4 days, working with the Vintage Aircraft Association here, and just having a great time.
That is awesome, Jerry. I mean, congratulations getting in here safely, and it's awesome. So let's talk about really let's go way back and what probably invigorated this to come here was your interest in aviation, and I want to talk about how did that happen? How did you get infected with this aviation bug?
Well, I was born with it. I've wanted all my life to fly. In fact, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an airline pilot, and kept that dream all the way into high school. And believe it or not, I had a high school counselor talk me out of that. She was convinced that airline pilots are never home, they never see their family, all these things that aren't good. That's all she told me about. And she didn't really kill that dream, but I'm also very good at drawing. I draw very well. I'm very creative and artistic, and so architecture was an interest for me. And so she said, I would recommend you look into that, and I did. And I went to school, University of Arkansas, and came out of there with a degree in architecture, a Bachelor of Architecture, but the dream to fly never went away. I think it's something, if it's as strong in you as it's as strong in me, you can't just squelch it and make it go away. You have to deal with it somehow. And so not long out of college, I started taking flying lessons, but I was just doing it as a hobby then more than anything. It wasn't really part of a career for me at that point.
Mm-hmm. And so so your career started, as you mentioned, in architecture. So
yes.
Kind of bring us through that architecture career and really kind of weave it into how that brought you into your current role.
That's kind of a funny story. I had a practice in downtown Little Rock. I've been practicing about 20 years. And one of the gentlemen that I went to church with was Mr. John Knight, who anybody that's been in the sale very long knows John Knight. He was a longtime director of our agency, and he and I went to church together. He was a personal friend of mine, had been for years. And I came across him at a church picnic, and he said, Chism, That's my best John imitation. Okay, he said, Chism, I've got this position open. If you know anybody that's interested, let me know. And I said, well, what are the qualifications? And he gave me all those. And Kelly, my wife, was not with me at that picnic. And I immediately called her and I said, well, I think I'm having a midlife crisis and there's about to be some big changes. And she said, well, does it involve a Corvette and a blonde? And I said, no. And she said, well, we were good. And so I applied for that job and was fortunate to be able to be hired to that in that position as assistant director. And I was the assistant director for 11 years. And then when John retired in 2014, the incoming governor, Asa Hutchinson, appointed me as director in 2015.
Very good. And so was it that aviation background that you had that really was what got you into that position?
It was, yeah. I'd been flying for quite some time, for a long time, in fact, and I had all the ratings necessary and had a lot of knowledge of Arkansas airports, and I understood the FAA and a lot of friends in the pilot world, and so it just sort of all worked together to get me into that position.
That's awesome. Very good. And that affords you the opportunity to do some pretty cool stuff. What are some of the things you do in your spare time? How do you keep yourself busy?
Well, right there is where most of my time and money goes as far as spare time and money. Kelly and I have 9 grandkids, 8 boys and 1 girl. They're all in Northwest Arkansas, so obviously we spend a lot of time with them. The boys, of course, are all in sports. We fly a lot. We spend a lot of time with our family and grandkids. We ride motorcycles, Indian motorcycle. We've been all over the country on that thing. And so we're very outdoors. I don't spend spare time at home much. In fact, all our friends even question that we really own a house because we're not there enough to really justify saying we own it. But we do like to get out. I'm at a point in life where I realize that I may not have a lot of time left to enjoy life, and so our big goal is to enjoy life every day. In 2016, we had a very bad motorcycle accident, T-boned a deer, and it brought home to us very clearly that you're not guaranteed tomorrow.
Yep.
So you better live today to the fullest, and so that's kind of the way we're doing every day.
Very good. That's awesome. Good to hear. And talking about you flying this 170 that we have behind us. What's the story behind it? Is there? How did this come about?
Well, that's Big Sugar.
Big Sugar.
And a very good friend of mine owned that airplane, and we had just built a house on a runway with the intention of someday buying an airplane. Had no intention at the moment. And my friend Andy came by and he said, Jerry, you're going to buy my airplane, and you're going to buy it now. And we had a brief discussion about that. He said, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse, which you've heard before. And you know what that usually means, nothing. But in this case, he was absolutely correct. He told me what he wanted for it, and it had everything on it's new. And even Kelly said, we've got to buy that airplane. You will never in your life get another opportunity like that. So we bought it. That was in June of 2019, and we've just been enjoying it ever since.
Very good. Ladies, take note. That was awesome. Very good. So tell me about some of the highlights of where you've been with this aircraft and some of the, just some anecdotal stories about where it's taken you.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Arkansas, particularly Northwest Arkansas, has a lot of backcountry grass strips that most people aren't really aware of in the Ozarks up there. And so we, as I said, we like being outdoors. And so we take that thing and go to some of those backcountry strips. Most of them don't have cell phone service, which is why we go there.
Yeah.
And so we can go there and kind of detach, and it's a good time to just, get back to relaxing, get away from the world and all the things that are going on that get your mind so agitated, and we can just relax and kind of reframe life, and then back to work on Monday. So we had a lot of fun with it. The grandkids love it, of course. They like to fly in it. I won't go into too much detail, but they like doing some things that are kind of fun in the airplane, and we do those quite a bit. So every time they're down, they want to go fly. So it's a great way to work, to do things with them, enjoy time with grandkids too.
Yeah, that's great.
So it's been a really blessing for us.
That's awesome. It sounds like therapy.
It is therapy.
It's very perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yep.
Very cool. So you're talking about these backcountry strips where you've been taking this into in Arkansas. So kind of talk about that backcountry airstrip system that you have, and then maybe kind of dovetail into what the aviation system is like in Arkansas.
It's Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas particularly is a great place for outdoor activities. And of course the Walton family and the RAF is very active up there. They've developed numerous strips up there that you can go and land and fly in, and they're all over the Northwest area and part of southern Missouri and the Ozarks up there. And so it's a very unique thing, I think. And you couple that with the fact that Northwest Arkansas is rapidly becoming a destination for mountain biking. You put those two together and it attracts a lot of people in that part of the state. And of course, in the airport system, one of the things we're trying to do in Arkansas is to find ways to get general aviation airports to engage with the public at large, not just the pilot community. I don't have to tell anyone that airports struggle to survive in today's world. And so just doing what we've always been doing and hoping that that works out probably is not going to work out. So what we're trying to do with our airports is to say, look, find a way to engage the non-flying public to come out to your airport and get them involved and get support from the community at large and not just from the pilot community. And one of the airports in Arkansas, Bentonville, Louise Thaden Field in Bentonville, Arkansas is an outstanding example of that. They will bring people in, put them in an airplane similar to this. Their mountain bikes in there, take them out, let them do the mountain biking, then come back and pick them up after they've ridden all day. And so they're just thinking outside the box in ways to engage the public. There's a lake nearby. They rent kayaks. They have hiking around the airport there. So just thinking of ways that can get the public involved and to make the airport a destination for people other than just pilots, I think is a great way to help to secure the future and sustainability of the airport.
Absolutely, this is an amazing idea, and yeah, the community has to be all in on the airport, and that's a great way to get them into it. So, talk about the airport system. How many airports are there, and what is the economic driver that brings people to these airports?
Okay, yeah, there are 90 public-owned, public-use airports in Arkansas. Most of them are very small rural airports. There are two ways they have to make income for the airport, and that's hangar rental and fuel sales. And I suspect most states will have the same issue we do, but almost every airport in the state of Arkansas needs hangars. It is by far the largest single need we have in the state of Arkansas is hangar space. So we're working with our grant program, making some new grants, raising some cap limits to make it possible for some of these airports that don't have a lot of money to maybe get some hangars built and some airplanes based on the field to help drive some of that economic input through fuel sales. Other than that, we have some, Arkansas is a farm state, so we have some airports that have a lot of land that they lease out to farmers. That's a good opportunity for them, but of course that's in the southern and the eastern half of the state. Northwest part of the state doesn't have that opportunity, so that's one of the reasons we're encouraging them to try to think outside the box, what you can do to make your airport more sustainable in the community. And there's the old saying, I know you've heard, if you've seen one airport, you've seen one airport. So they're all different, but they do all have the same sort of concerns, and how they manage that is the key to seeing that their future's well maintained.
Very good. And speaking of the management of these airports, let's talk a little bit more about the Arkansas Division of Aeronautics and what does that organization do? What's its mission and vision?
Yeah, okay. Well, our mission is to make a safe system of airports in the state of Arkansas for the pilots and the communities they serve. And so the vast majority of our time is spent administering our grant program. In Arkansas, all aviation sales tax comes to our agency. It doesn't go into general revenue. We don't get any general revenue. And so we take that and we turn it back in the form of grants to all the public use airports across the state to do improvement projects. We have a commission of 7 members, all appointed by the governor. They meet once a month to look at the grant applications that we as the staff have vetted to make sure that everything's the way it should be. And then they give those grants to the airports to do those type projects. That's the majority of what we do. Truthfully, in Arkansas, we're a small enough state that if it's aviation related, we touch it. We may not be required to statutorily, but we do. And so we're involved with safety programs, of course. Arkansas is a big agricultural state. They have the largest fleet, I think, if not the largest, the second largest fleet of ag airplanes in the country. So we're involved with the ag industry quite a bit. There's a lot of GA work going on. And as I mentioned earlier, the backcountry stuff is drawing a whole new crowd into the northwest part of the state that we're happy to be able to be involved with as well.
Very cool. That's awesome. What is your funding each year for airports typically?
Yeah, it's a good question. Our appropriation is $15 million, and as a state agency, what that means is we're allowed to spend $15 million regardless of what our income is, but we can't spend it if we don't have it. Arkansas has a Revenue Stabilization Act, which means we can only spend what we bring in. This past year, our income was a little over $16 million, so we exceeded our appropriation, so we couldn't spend it all, but that's okay because airport projects generally are big projects, take longer, and so we don't have to spend it all at the end of the year. Our money rolls over from fiscal year to fiscal year. It's not a use it or lose it kind of scenario. So we're able to bank that money for future use for airports, but we spend that money Generally, we're in the neighborhood of about 8 to 10 million a year. I suspect with the new program for the hangars, we've raised the caps, we've opened that up some. This next year, having more income and a new grant program, I think is going to allow us to push more money out to the airports.
That's outstanding. That's really good stuff to hear. You know, and it sounds like you're doing a lot of stuff with that money, and you're doing it with a pretty small staff. And I can talk from experience coming from an office of 9. We do a lot of really cool things with very few people.
Yeah.
Sounds like you do the same thing. How does that work? And maybe describe your dynamic of your staff.
It's, I like to say, and I have found no one yet can argue against this, we are the most efficient state agency in the state of Arkansas. We run our agency on 4 to 6% of our budget. 94 to 96% of our money goes out to the airports. Wow. There are 5 of us. The good thing is that, again, the main thing we do is administer the grant program, and we don't do any planning for airports. FAA, AIP grants come directly to our airports. They don't come through our agency, so it lightens our workload a little bit. We do the 50-10 inspections, of course. So we have 2 clerical staff, myself, an assistant director, and a state airport engineer. That's it. And so the beauty of that is that we can focus more on airports. I know a lot of state agencies have planning and all sort of aviation-related things under their umbrella. We don't. Sometimes I wish we did. I'd like to be able to do that, but statutorily we're required to make sure we have a good airport system, and we can do that well with the 5 that we have. But in the times that we're not focused on that, again, we just voluntarily go and do the things that we have to do that keep aviation promoted and moving forward in the state.
That's outstanding. Now, talking about that, Arkansas is one of the 50 states here, and it's an association. I come to you in association with the National Association of State Aviation Officials, which is a grouping of all the states and Division of Aeronautics, Bureau of Aviation departments around the country that come together. And NASAO is the voice and the national voice for us. That kind of leads me into what's going to happen up there in September.
Yeah, I'm very excited. In September, the 92nd annual Convention and Trade Show will be held in Rogers, Arkansas, northwest Arkansas. I'm very excited about that because I think it's going to give us an opportunity to show exactly what I've just been talking about, how general aviation is growing in Arkansas, how we're helping promote aviation not just to pilots. We need to promote aviation to the general public, particularly to our younger generations, to education, aviation education, to get them interested in aviation. We realized I flew young Eagles through the EAA for 15 years, about 400 kids I did in 15 years. And never once did I have a kid get out of the airplane and say anything except, "That's awesome." But when they get to high school, somehow we're losing them between that point and the point where they decide what career they want. So we're trying to put a little more focus. I know a lot of states do this, but we're trying to put more focus on aviation education, trying to capture the younger generations. And I think we do that not just through the schools. We're going to do that too, but we have intentionally decided we're going to try to do that by engaging the general public as well, not just kids at school, because they have to have that support at home for their mom and dad to say that's a great career, we understand why you want to do that, and we support that. So that's kind of a two-faceted reason why we're sort of pushing that, engaging the general public at your airport, because I think just education is good, but you got to have the support at home, you got to have the support of the community to make that happen.
Absolutely, and these are, like you said, some of the discussions that occur at this convention. And kind of talk about the dynamic. Who comes to these conventions? It's a lot of state directors, but there's other people. Talk about that.
Oh, sure. There's a lot of vendors. The FAA, of course, government officials are there, and as you mentioned, the state directors will be there. I suspect in Arkansas this year we're going to have a lot of Arkansas airports represented. They're very excited about the opportunity to come to that. So I think we're going to see some people, anybody that's interested in aviation, I think is going to take the opportunity to come, particularly in our region, because it's not very frequent that we have that opportunity in Arkansas. It's usually in another state. So the ability to get people to come in their home state to an event of this size, I think is going to draw a really large crowd. There's some great things in Bentonville, Rogers area. The Crystal Bridges Museum is a world-class museum that is located in Bentonville. We'll be able to see that. There's a lot of outdoor activities. As I mentioned, the Louise Thaden Field, which we're going to go spend Monday night over there. And at the event over there, you'll see some incredible warbirds, and there's a world-class aerobatic aircraft manufacturer based there on the field. And so there's just a lot of things I think that's going to draw people in. It's going to be a great convention.
That's great. I'm really looking forward to attending it, Jerry, and it's, as always, is going to be a great convening of people and
Yeah.
ideas, and really where aviation business happens
Yeah.
at the grassroots level. So we're really looking forward to that. Jerry, I think that's really about it for today, and I just want to thank everybody for being with us today for another State Aviation Journal video focus with Arkansas Director of Division of Aeronautics, Jerry Chism. Jerry, thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
your
Sean.
time. I appreciate it.
I'll see you in September.
We'll see you in September.
All right.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.